Hello YouTube people, a video that I'm going to make this morning. It's Sunday morning, and I think it's a video that not many people can make, or could make, or get away with making. So I'm going to make it. And basically the bottom line is, I wish I'd never been born. Although maybe in the end it won't come out strictly that true, but that's the theme anyway. So it's a personal video about me, I guess. So I'll give you a quick biography. No details, but enough details hopefully. Born well enough. 2 of everything I should have 2 of everything of. 4 of other things and 5 of other things. Everything seemed to be in the right place. Parents in the right place. Physically, mentally, financially, everything just about all right. When did things start going wrong? I can remember, I must have been, because I remember crying in my bed at night. And my brother was in the room, and I woke him up. So I can, because we got separate rooms after that, did we? No, we didn't actually. Anyway, I think I can nail it to about aged 8 or something like that. And I remember what I was crying about. I just watched a cowboy movie, and I quite fancied being one of the characters in the cowboy movie. And I remember what I particularly liked about it. It was the freedom of it all. And maybe that is why people like the old cowboy movies. Riding across the range, or is the range? Anyway, the great open expanses. Free to do whatever you want. And I realised, I think it was a Sunday night as well, and I realised it was school the next morning, and I really didn't fancy the idea of going to school in the morning. So let's stop here and say, I would think that most people somewhere along the line get a similar sort of thing about freedom, and some people don't grow out of it. So where should we go next? Up through school and whatever. Never particularly. There was a part in school between the ages of the age of 11 and 14 I quite liked, because I liked the freedom of that. That was quite good. It was a good school, but I liked the idea that it was so different, and that I had to travel so far to get there every day. It took a good while. I did 2 hours, hour and a half. Somewhere between there. I got on a walked to the bus, got the bus to the train, got the train, and then got another bus, and then it was a 20-minute walk after the second bus. I loved that. That was fine. Went to another school, and then started realising that the school was going to come to an end, and I was going to have to go to work. Now, I did not fancy this idea, because I could see it just as an extension of school. I couldn't really see the difference between work and school, except you got paid for it. But the restrictions were still there. The alarm clock would go off, you'd have to get out of bed, and you'd have to go and do what you were told out there somewhere. And I didn't fancy the idea of that at all. But age, what would it be, 17, went and did that. That went all right for a while, because I went into a place where I tell the story differently. It was me started that September with 14 women, I'll say. Sometimes I say 15 or 16, I can't remember, I've told the story so many times. But that sort of ratio. It was certainly me on my own and let's say 14 women. Girls, we called them back then. And that was my first real foray into girls on a mass scale, in a more adult way. and that kept me going for a while. I started earning £11 something, and then it would have been age 20. I'd got up to £25 a week, and then some other outfit offered me double, £50 a week if I'd move and work for them. So I did, and that was the first time I was really miserable at work. And I did 6 months with them and realised how excruciating work can be when you work in a job that you really don't like, with people you don't like. And it was so painful that I decided to leave the country and move to the south of France and make my living there. And I went back and forwards to England, short stays, a few times since, but basically I've lived abroad ever since then. I fell into a profession and at a time which was booming and was very lightly regulated, and basically we could do whatever we liked, and it was a very free work environment and very well paid, and living abroad in the south of France and everything that went with that, and it was really rather marvellous. I fell in with Mrs. Mystic 28 years ago while doing that, and that has worked extremely well ever since. But all the time was this nagging thing that I wanted my freedom. I wanted this extension of school, this work, to stop, so I could actually do what I wanted. So I kind of dedicated my work life to saving money, investing money, making it make more money and me make more money, so I can achieve this end. Bought this place here 20 years ago when things were very cheap. Let's say by luck, didn't have any children, but it wasn't so much luck, but that obviously saved a lot of money, and I could retire at the age I am now. Now we come to the tragic bit, because you'd think, well, this is brilliant because Mrs. Mystic and I are living out in the country. We're not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but we can get by on the small amount that we have, and we don't have to listen to the alarm clock in the morning because it doesn't go off, and we can play in our little green fields and grow vegetables and potter around with this, that and whatever we feel like. But it's still not satisfying, and it's quite interesting, I think, why. At aged 8 and up to 18 and 28 and 38, all this idea of freedom and how life would be so wonderful if I could live out on the open range, doing what I felt like it, going in my own direction. All these dreams that we have from old cowboy films was a dream, but when you actually come to live it, you realise that the human being isn't actually set up to do that sort of thing. It's a kind of a torn thing. It's just another of those torn things that a human being is. When I was working, I thought I wanted the freedom, and now I've got the freedom. It isn't that I want to go back to working, but I find that increasingly, excuse me, I do things which are the equivalent. Growing vegetables is very, very like working. You've got, if you want to do it properly, you've got to be a slave to the vegetables. I've come up here in the morning to do the watering. I've done the watering. You must do this or your vegetables die. You've got to do the weeding. Before that you've got to do the seeding, the fertilising, the grass cutting and all this. And it is a corvée, they call it in French. What would be it in English? A set task. I have set myself the set tasks. And again on the internet with Over the Peak, 5 days a week. I spend 5-6 hours probably rehearsing the videos that I do, or you know, researching them, doing the videos, setting up the shots, and making the presentation. And as I said in a comment at this weekend, that it's strange, I normally finish Thursday evening, put up Friday's World Economic News, and I feel like I'm on holiday again. But I've obviously set this up, maybe because I've been habituated to it, but I think it's what humans like doing. And I look back at my work and realise that wasn't actually so bad at all. Actually, I didn't think it was so bad. Except for that 6 months, I think I enjoyed all the working that I did. And I think it's because a human is set up to live within parameters, to have the short-term, medium-term, long-term goals, which I had when I was working. And retirement for many people, I can imagine, would be really painful if they can't then reset up the short, medium and long-term goals, which I seem to have done for myself. But this video is to stress that it's probably before age 8 I had this idea, and had this idea going for, say, 40 years of freedom, and freedom was the thing that was so brilliant for the human being, and get the freedom and find it isn't. But it isn't to say that freedom isn't the thing, or being regimented isn't the thing, or freedom is the thing, or regimented is the thing. It's to say that the human being can never be satisfied, because even if it's doing the regimented thing, the classic job which you don't get anymore, where you go in as soon as you leave school or college, university, whatever it might be, and you do till you retire, and then you do your retirement things. Even that will have nagging unsatisfactions in it, because the person doing it will probably imagine that they could be doing something better, should be doing something a bit more imaginative and wild. But the people doing something imaginative and wild have got this nagging thing that they should be doing something more regimented. It's to say that the human being, I think, whatever it's doing, whenever it's doing it, is set up to be unsatisfied with it. It'll be unsatisfied with doing it, it'll be unsatisfied with the result when it's done, and it'll be unsatisfied that it's then been put onto another project, but satisfied that it's been put onto another project, but with the knowledge that when that project's finished, there'll just be another project. Losing the thread of the video, but hopefully you can get the idea that being a human being is grotesquely complicated, and whatever you think that you can be that'll make you content, satisfied or happy will not make you content, satisfied, unhappy. I mean happy. Human beings are set up to be discontent, uncontent, dissatisfied. Unhappy might be pushing it, but unhappy enough to get up and do something. We are just driven to do things all the time. And you can try and keep up with the things that you're being driven to do, but you never will. You'll always be being driven ahead of your catching up and realising what you're doing at the time. And if you ever do catch up and realise what you're doing, you'll be dissatisfied with the fact that you're doing it. It's just the way the human has been set up in evolution, to be permanently on the go and doing until they die. I think I might as well leave it there. And I'd just like to add here, I don't know how quite long this video is, about 12 minutes maybe, 14. I had a rough idea what I was going to say in about the first 3 or 4 minutes, and the rest of the video has come as a complete surprise to me. Bye.